You're watching eNews. I'm Kathy Mutlatlana, and these are your top stories tonight. Fighting corruption, free higher education and higher social grants, just some of the promises made at the EFF's election manifesto launch. Reality is sinking in as family and friends of the Hoërskool 3 Hoek bridge collapse come to terms with what happened. Let's begin with that EFF manifesto launch. Today, land and jobs are at the top of the EFF's manifesto wish list. The party holding its big launch at the Gaint Stadium that was in Soshanguve today. The EFF's Julius Malema saying that the political party wants to restore the integrity of the African child. Samkele Maseko was there for us.
The theme of this election is our land and jobs now. We cannot postpone the land question. We cannot postpone the jobs question. It must happen now.
The land question is on the political menu for these general elections. Julius Malema says his Red Berets will march forward and expropriate land without compensation in order to create jobs.
The land is coming. We are going to amend Section 25 of the Constitution to allow expropriation of land without compensation.
On the issue of education, he says the youth will be forced to go to school.
Our education is going to be free and then compulsory. Compulsory means you are going to go to school by force. The
radical and outspoken leader says he has no faith in the new director of public prosecutions.
To tell you the honest truth, I've got no trust on the new appointed head of NPA. She's very close to Pravin Gordhan.
Malema says his troops must paint the streets of South Africa red as they head to the elections. Samkele Maseko, Soshanguve.
ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says his party has been intentional about improving the living conditions of the poor in the Northern Cape. He says even though that is true, there's still a lot of work to be done. Ramaphosa speaking at the ANC's provincial election manifesto launch in Kimberley.
The ANC is young in terms of its enviable energy. It is young in terms of its militancy, and it is also young in terms of its political will to act decisively to improve the living conditions of our people. Others talk about their wish to improve the lives of our people. The ANC talks about the experience that it has had in improving the lives of our people. We can say today with no shadow of doubt that the Northern Cape as a province has indeed become a better place to live in for the majority of the people of the Northern Cape. The living conditions of our people here are better than they were in 1994. So our people here have seen great improvement. But we are the first to say much more work still needs to be done. We still need to do more work to fully improve the lives of our people.
The father of one of the pupils who died when a walkway collapsed at Hoërskool 3 Hoek says he doesn't blame anyone for his son's passing. The school has been shut down and declared a crime scene after 3 pupils lost their lives. 20 children are still receiving treatment in various hospitals across Gauteng. Slindelo Masikani has more.
It's every parent's worst nightmare. No parent imagines that they'll send their child to school one morning only for them to never return home. These are some of the horrific scenes from Friday morning when part of the walkway connecting the administration block to classes collapsed. Pupils and teachers trying to lift a concrete slab with their bare hands to save scores of pupils trapped under rubble.
In terms of the necessary and relevant regulations, we have declared the accident that has happened here as an emergency, and it will allow us, therefore, to appoint an independent team of structural engineers as well, alongside the Department of Labor, with a view that we can get more information about what would have happened on the structural integrity of the building.
17-year-old Raiden Olkers, 13-year-old Marley Carley, and 13-year-old Jandre Stein all died on the scene. The injuries of some of the survivors are so serious they may have limbs amputated. Raiden Olker's father says he will miss his son's warm hugs. And while he doesn't blame anyone for his son's death, Olkers believes it could have been prevented.
I'm pretty sure when there's a building where lots of kids walk around, and I'm sure that there should be a schedule of maintenance, I'm sure, to check that stuff is all right. I mean, I don't know, once in a year or once in 5 years, just to check if the building is still sound.
Teaching and learning have been halted for now, while pupils, parents and school officials receive trauma counseling. An inquest docket has been opened by the police. Meanwhile, the Vanderbijlpark community continues to lay flowers outside the school, with many still coming to terms with the loss of 3 young lives. Slindalo Masigan, Vanderbijlpark in Emfuleni.
Last year, we brought you the story of an 8-year-old girl whose rape left her using a colostomy bag. Now, her mother, who's living on a social grant, is being told to pay for her medical bills. That's despite her daughter being treated at a public Johannesburg hospital. Zikona Chona has more, and just a warning to our viewers that as this story may be disturbing, especially to sensitive viewers.
The last time we saw this little girl, she was lying shyly in her mother's bed, refusing to make eye contact or talk to anyone. That was in August, after she had been discharged from hospital. Doctors confirmed she'd been raped, apparently at an open veldt near her home. With continued counseling, the 8-year-old is slowly returning to her usual self. The ordeal left the young survivor's lower body damaged. She had to use a colostomy bag.
After bekasangakwazi ukuya etoilet bese kanje kumane kuziphumele bekangezwa ukuthi uye etoilet, so mabaya esibhedlela bathola ukuthi that operation azange bayenze kahle, so bayenza enye maka bamvula la bekafaka i-colostomy bag.
The girls had to go back to hospital for regular checkups. Earlier this month, the colostomy bag was finally removed. But when the mother took her daughter for another consultation this week, she was told to pay up or she won't be helped any longer. This even though the hospital is a public health care facility.
It's 1,075 rand manje, so ayikho into abazongisiza ngeke bangishayile istemp, so ngibachazisela ukuthi no angisebenzi and mina bengazi ukuthi kuyabhadalwa, bathi mele mangiza for a check up mele ngiphathe 75 rand umntwana, then if uyalala it's 80 rand.
And this is what staff told her when she informed them that she's living off a social grant.
Bathi if awusebenzi umntwana uyahola igrant, sicela ukuthi uze nekhadi lomntwana, uze ne-ID, i-birth certificate yakhe, then izosho ukuthi umntwana uyahola, then uzoya kuma financial zethu le building phezulu ukhulume nabo ukuthi bazoyenza kanjani, imali bazoyidonsa kanjani.
The hospital says it will get in touch with the mother about the issue, while the Gauteng Health Department insists she shouldn't be forced to pay anything. Zikona Chona, Johannesburg.
Mitchell's Plain residents are on a mission to take back their streets. The area has seen an increase in gang-related violence in recent months. Leanne Jansen joined a community-sanctioned raid helped by the anti-gang unit and filed this report.
A call to prayer, but this alleged criminal is called to order. Locals have fallen victim to intense gang violence and public unrest since the start of the festive season.
In recent months, we have had an escalation in shootings in the streets, quite a few attempted murders and murders emanating from gang conflict in the area. And the challenges we've been having is the lack of support from the community.
Now the local community policing forum, Neighbourhood Watch and street committees are upping the ante. They've approached the anti-gang unit for help.
We've seen a drastic increase in terms of crimes, specifically around Mitchell's Plain. So on that basis, we then deemed it fit to call our community volunteers to come out and support the South African Police Services, because clearly our mandate as the CPF is to build partnerships.
At least 5 arrests were made in this operation alone, and tens of thousands of rand have been confiscated.
9, 10.
Criminals are being warned that there's nowhere left to hide. The community says it'll no longer be held to ransom. Leanne Jansen, Cape Town.
Still ahead on eNews tonight, the South African Air Force was today flying high, celebrating 99 years in the sky. Thanks for staying with us tonight. The South African Air Force is celebrating its 99th birthday with colour and flair. It's held an awards evening and parade to honour those who've distinguished themselves. Titiro Silepe has more.
The sound of the marching and drums reverberates across the airbase as the SAAF celebrates 99 years of being in the air. The force's pride in serving its country is demonstrated in its rigidly choreographed displays. Its wings are on display for the generals, majors and lieutenants gathered together to witness this impressive exhibition.
In the tradition of a parade, you'll have columns of colors marching in, representing all units and formations of the Air Force, outline the direction and the vision that he wants the Air Force to achieve for the year.
Colonel Mutati says there are many misconceptions around being in the military and the Air Force. He believes having a country with a strong military is important.
Let me start by saying that a nation without arms is no nation.
He's also encouraging young people to join up.
Part of that whole week of the Armed Forces Day is dedicated to the youth of South Africa. We will be setting up camps where people will be displaying and exposing what their wares with a view to give our young the access to information, to touch and feel. It's a show and tell.
He says this shows the country the Air Force will be ready whenever it might be called upon. Titiro Silepe, Pretoria.
Let's take a look at news from abroad now. Thousands of yellow vest protesters marched through Paris and other French cities today. In the French capital, protesters paid tribute to over 1,000 people injured in previous anti-government protests. Demonstrators denounced the use of flashball riot control guns, which have been banned in most European countries. And in Spain, thousands of pensioners took to the streets of central Madrid to demand higher state pensions. The protesters say they're not only fighting for their current payments, but for the pensions of future generations. Last month, the Spanish government proposed a 6% increase in pensions, but the protesters say it's not enough. After the break, we have your weather details, and then well, she's here and she's ready to perform. American superstar Lauryn Hill is performing in Johannesburg tonight as part of her world tour.
Good evening, everyone. There were strong thunderstorms today over the southern parts of the country, with reports of localised flooding for some areas in the Western and Eastern Cape. And the cut-off low-pressure system responsible for these conditions will move along the country's coastline as we head into Sunday, this time only bringing a few more showers to some areas in the Western Cape. Thunderstorms will be returning to parts of the interior in the afternoon, extending down from Botswana all the way through to the eastern coastline and making their way across the Highveld as the day goes on. The Northern Cape, though, will be drier. Only around Kimberley will there be a small chance of thunder showers. Some wet weather does hang around for the Western Cape as we head into Sunday, especially along the southern coastline. Cape Town, Langebaan and Vredendal, you could have a few drops, but mostly in the morning. For the Eastern Cape, showers and thunderstorms will be continuing on your Sunday. We're going to see some very wet weather, especially in the eastern parts of this province. And we're also going to see stormy conditions for KwaZulu-Natal with good falls of rain in places, especially closer to the Drakensberg. It's also going to be a wet afternoon and evening on the Mpumalanga Highveld, where there is an 80% chance of thunder showers. But crossing the border into Limpopo, just a small possibility for the southern parts. But as you head towards Polokwane and northwards, it looks as though things stay dry. Thunder showers once again returning to the northwest, including Mahikeng, where you can expect a high of 30 degrees. And for the Free State, there's also a 60% chance of thunder showers, wet weather continuing over this province. And more or less the same in the forecast for Gauteng. It's still going to be a warm afternoon as your temperatures climb above 25. Let's take a look at what Monday brings to your parts of South Africa, and we will continue to see a few thunder showers in the east, but for Bloemfontein, drier air returns to your parts with a maximum of 29 degrees. And then on Tuesday, it's going to be dry all across the country's coastal areas, but as you head into the interior, thunder showers likely for the Highveld. That's all from the Weather Centre. Goodbye for now.
And finally, South Africans are waiting with bated breath for the performance of American R&B superstar Lauryn Hill. She's performing in Johannesburg tonight. The multi-Grammy award-winning songstress will share the stage with rapper Nas. She's reassured fans that the show will go ahead as planned. Our reporter Nqobile Madlala is outside the Coca-Cola Dome ahead of the concert. Nqobile, there were lots of questions around whether or not she will show up, and if she does show up, will it be on time? What do we know from the event organizers?
Well, the organizers did tell us that she is in fact here in South Africa and that she will be on time, that she's going to be on stage at 15 minutes past 9, and perhaps if she's late it will have to be 20 past 9, but everybody must be ready and basically to hear everything, to hear her music and to just basically get lost in her music. There was a lot being said on Twitter, of course, with a lot of rumors that she might not even come to South Africa, but then she came onto Twitter just to confirm that she is in fact coming to South Africa, and it seems she has arrived because she has even done sound checks. And on stage now, obviously the doors have been open, and already on stage we've had some locals that have already performed. In fact, I'll tell you now, I've got some of her fans. In fact, she's got one of her greatest fans says she wants to just sing for us a little bit. I need you, baby, and if it's quite alright, I need you, baby. So warm the lonely nights, I love you, baby. Trust in me when I say okay. Beautiful. Is that what you're looking for? Looking forward to that. That's my favorite, one of my favorite songs of Lauryn Hill. So yeah. And of course, as you know, that she's going to be sharing the stage with Nas, who's also just stood the hands of time. He is very good in what he does, known as one of the lyrical gods. I've got a fan of Nas here. What are you looking forward to?
I'm just hoping he performs the Illmatic album. That's like the best hip-hop album ever. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing his performance. Been waiting for this.
As you can hear, everybody here is excited. The doors are open. People are excited to see her and basically get lost in her music.
All right, well, we certainly hope you and the rest of the revelers have a lovely evening out at that concert. We'll just look at our top stories tonight. Fighting corruption, free higher education and higher social grants. Those are just some of the EFF promises tonight. And also reality sinking in for family and friends of the Hoërskool Driehoek Bridge collapse as they grapple to come to terms with the loss of their loved ones. That's it from me and the rest of the team for tonight. Have a lovely evening.